For my 18th birthday, my parents gave me a new laptop. At least, that is what it looked like at first. I know this already sounds dramatic, but trust me, it was one of those days where you feel like you stepped into the wrong movie and nobody bothered to hand you the script. My family was never the kind that spoiled me. My brother Mason, yes. Me, not even close. If there was a favorite child in that house, it was him without question. He was the center of gravity. I was more like a plant in the corner they watered, only if they happened to notice I was drooping. So when my birthday came around, I expected nothing. Maybe an old sweater from my mother closet. Maybe socks. Something cheap and practical. Something that quietly reminded me that Mason was the star. And I was just lucky to be in the audience. But then there was this box on the table. Wrapped. Shiny. Rectangular in that unmistakable expensive electronics way. I stared at it like it was a hallucination. I actually asked if it was really for me, half expecting them to laugh, and slide it over to Mason like the whole thing had been a joke. My mother, Natalie, gave me that tight, unreadable smile she always uses when she is hiding something. My father, Scott, just nodded once. Mason leaned back in his chair with a smirk that made my stomach twitch, like he already knew the ending, and I did not. I should have paid attention to that. I did not, because my heart was too busy doing flips. It was just the four of us that night. No cousins. No aunts. No big party. Just a quiet family birthday, a cake on the counter, and that impossible box in front of me. My parents watched me with those "look how generous we are" faces. Mason watched me like he was waiting for the punchline. I peeled back the wrapping paper with shaking fingers, and there it was. A sleek silver Apple laptop. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. They had never bought me anything that expensive in my life. Not once. I smiled like an idiot and thanked them. In that moment, I actually believed it. I believed this was love. I believed this was the turning point. The moment they finally saw me as worth more than leftovers and hand-me-downs. Later that night, I carried it upstairs to my room, like it was proof I belonged. Then I opened the box. The first crack in the illusion came fast. Scratches. Small ones, but there. Faint lines across the silver casing. My smile slipped. Maybe it was secondhand, I told myself. Not ideal, but still mine. Then, I noticed the keys. Some of the letters were already worn, and that was when the feeling in my chest turned cold. I told myself maybe it was refurbished. Plenty of people buy refurbished laptops. That did not automatically mean anything was wrong. It did not have to mean they did not care. So I powered it on and waited for the screen to light up. At first, everything looked normal. Then I noticed something strange. There was a section of the system I did not recognize, a separate drive or partition sitting there like a locked room in a house someone had just told me was mine. I clicked around carefully. Most of it looked grayed out. Then suddenly, I was inside. There were files. Not many, but enough. Some looked half-deleted. Some had weird names that meant nothing to me. There were spreadsheets, logs, numbers, and short codes that made no sense. My stomach tightened. This was not just a used laptop. It was someone else's laptop. Deep down, I already knew whose. I snapped the lid shut, like the files might lunge out and bite me. Then I just sat there on my bed staring at it, with the last of that birthday happiness still clinging to me like a bad joke. This was not love. It was not generosity. It was something else. And I could feel it. I thought back to their faces downstairs. Natalie, tight, smile. Scott, silence. Mason, smirk. At the time, I had told myself they were just awkward. Maybe they were not used to giving me something nice. But now, I was not so sure. I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was just an old machine. Maybe it did not matter. But my chest felt tight, and every instinct I had was screaming that something was wrong. I shoved the laptop under my bed, like hiding it would make it less real. It did not help. Even in the dark, I could feel it there, like it was humming with secrets. I kept replaying their faces in my head. Something about that gift was off. Way off. I wish I could tell you that I laughed the next morning and decided I had been dramatic. I wish I could say it was only another disappointment. Another reminder that Mason always got the real thing and I got the leftovers. But that was not what happened, because the laptop was not just old. It was dangerous. And very soon I was going to find out exactly how dangerous it was. I did not wake up suspicious by accident. My family trained me for it. Mason was the golden child from the beginning. I was background noise in his movie. His birthdays looked like national holidays. Towers of gifts. New gadgets. My mother smiling like she had personally delivered the chosen one into the world. Mine were smaller. Used dolls. Sweaters that smelled like they had been living in the back of a closet for years. One year, I got a book about being more positive. Happy birthday to me. I learned early that love in that house could be measured in dollars, and my balance was always close to zero. When Mason turned 10, he got a brand new bike with racing stripes. Everyone clapped while he rode it around the driveway like he was filming a commercial. A year later, I got the same bike with a bow stuck on it. It still had mud on the tires. Nobody even bothered pretending it was different. That was always the pattern. He got a new phone. I got his old cracked one after he upgraded. He got shoes in the store. I got the shoes after they had already been worn for months. By the time we were teenagers, I had stopped expecting any of it to change. He was smarter in their eyes. More important. More destined. I was just there. Even when he moved out and got a place with his girlfriend, he still floated through that house like he owned it. He came by all the time. Sometimes with her. Sometimes alone. Every time, he would disappear into his old room for hours with his silver laptop, tapping away like the fate of the world depended on it. If I knocked, he snapped. If I asked what he was doing, he said nothing I would understand. I used to shrug it off. Maybe he was gaming. Maybe he had some side hustle. Maybe he was just wasting time. But when I sat on my bed with that birthday laptop and recognized the scratches, the worn keys, the silver shape of it, something inside me twisted. I had seen that machine before. This was not a gift. It was something being handed to me on purpose. And for the first time in my life, I let myself admit that my family was not just unfair. They were dangerous when it came to protecting Mason. I did not have to wait long for the next crack in the illusion. The very next day, I was in my room with that cursed laptop sitting on the desk like a snake in a box. I did not open it again. I just stared at it. Then I heard voices drifting up the hallway from the kitchen. Natalie low and sharp. Scott rumbling underneath. Mason laughing in that smug little way that always made my skin crawl. Normally, I would not have thought twice. I would have walked in for water or a snack. But this time, something in me said, "Do not go in, listen first." So I did. I crept down the hall barefoot and stayed where the carpet would not creak. I stopped just outside the kitchen door and pressed myself against the wall. At first, the conversation sounded ordinary. Bills, groceries, normal noise. For 1 second, I thought maybe I had worked myself into panic over nothing. Then, Mason's voice cut through, clear and mocking. He said I would probably just think it was secondhand because I was too stupid to notice anything else. My stomach dropped so hard, I thought I might actually be sick. I pulled out my phone and started recording without even thinking. If I was wrong, I could delete it later. Then Natalie snapped at him and said if he had not decided to scam people in the first place, none of them would be in this mess. She said the least he could have done was cover his tracks. And then she said one word that made my brain lock in. VPN. Even I knew what that meant. Hiding your activity. Covering your trail online. Mason told her to relax. He said the police would never prove anything, and even if they did, the laptop was not his anymore. Then Scott spoke in that calm voice he always used when he thought he was the smartest person in the room. He said that if the police came, they would not come for Mason. They would come for me. The laptop was in my room now. I was 18. They would think it was mine. I almost dropped my phone. There it was. The trap. The scratches. The strange files. The hidden partition. They had not given me a present. They had handed me a bomb and planned to let it go off in my lap. Mason laughed after that, low and smug, and said I would never figure it out anyway. I wanted to storm into the kitchen right then. I wanted to wipe that look off his face and force all three of them to say it again to mine. But I did not move. My hands were shaking too hard. My throat felt too tight. I just stayed there, with my phone recording every word. Then I backed away as quietly as I could and went straight to my room. The second the door shut, I locked it. My breath was coming too fast. I looked down at my phone and saw the recording still running. I stopped it, saved it, and played it back just to be sure. Their voices filled my room, cold and clear. Proof. Real proof. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at the laptop on my desk, that shiny birthday present they had handed me like it meant love. It was not a gift. It was planted evidence. I had always known I came second in that house. Sometimes third. Maybe not even on the board. But this was different. This was not neglect. This was betrayal with a plan behind it. They were willing to let me take the fall for Mason, and they were calm about it. Efficient about it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the laptop out the window and watch it explode on the driveway. Instead, I started packing. Not carefully. Not like someone going on a trip. I packed like someone leaving a fire. Wallet. Phone. One. Charger. A few clothes shoved into a backpack. And the laptop, of course. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped the charger twice. I looked around my room once while I zipped the bag. The posters. The books. The blanket at the end of the bed. 18 years of trying to survive that house. Suddenly, none of it felt safe. None of it felt mine. I opened the bedroom door, walked down the hall, and said I was going to a friend's place and would be back later. My voice did not even shake. Then I walked out of the house and into the night. The night air hit me hard, cold and sharp, but it felt real in a way nothing inside that house had felt for years. I kept walking without looking back. Every step felt louder than it should have. At the corner, I stopped and gripped my backpack straps, trying to think. I had the recording on my phone. I had the laptop in my bag. I had proof, but I also had nowhere that felt safe. I did not go to a friend's house. I did not want anyone I cared about dragged into this. Instead, I went straight to the police station. The laptop felt heavy in my backpack, like I was carrying a live explosive. When I got there, I slid it across the counter with shaking hands and told them everything. The gift. The strange partition. The files. The conversation I recorded in the kitchen. I half expected them to laugh, or worse, to look at me the same way my family always did when I tried to tell the truth, like I was causing trouble. But they did not. They wrote everything down. They took the laptop. They took my statement. They listened to the recording. Then they gave me a receipt for the evidence. Polite. Official. Almost strangely calm, considering they had just taken custody of a machine my own family tried to use to frame me. I walked back outside into the dark, with only my backpack, and the feeling that I had just blown up my entire life. I could not face anyone I knew. So I found the cheapest hostel I could afford. The kind with stained carpet, squeaky bunks, and strangers who looked like they would steal your shoes if you slept too deeply. Perfect. I shoved my backpack under the pillow and lay there staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed non-stop on the nightstand. At first, the text sounded worried. Where are you? Why did you leave? Are you safe? For 1 weak second, I almost answered. I almost slipped back into being the good daughter who made everything easier for everyone else. Then I heard Mason's voice in my head. She will not even figure it out. So instead, with fingers still shaking, I typed 4 words. I'm not coming back. That one message burned the bridge. The next morning, I dragged myself out of the hostel bed, showered in a bathroom that smelled like mildew and old regret, and went to work. On the outside, I looked normal. I smiled at customers. I took orders. I stocked shelves. Inside, I was screaming. My phone kept buzzing in my apron pocket all day, and I ignored every call. By the end of the shift, I had more than 40 missed calls. Day 2 at the hostel was worse. The mattress springs stabbed me in the ribs all night, and every time I closed my eyes, I heard Mason laughing in the kitchen. My parents' messages changed tone too. Less worried. More demanding. Call us back. We need to talk. What did you do? I ignored those as well. At work, I kept glancing at the front door, half certain one of them would show up. On the 3rd day, they did. I saw Natalie and Scott standing outside the front window, just watching me. My blood went cold. I pretended not to notice. I kept wiping tables and moving like I was too busy to care, but I could feel them staring through the glass. When my shift ended, I slipped out the back door and practically ran all the way to the hostel. That night, I barely slept. I was sure they would follow me. On day 4, the dam finally broke. I was at the register when they came storming inside. Natalie's voice cut through the room first. Sharp. Furious. She demanded to know what I had told the police. Scott asked why officers had been at the house. The whole cafe went silent. My co-workers froze. Customers stared. My throat closed for 1 second. Then, something inside me snapped clean in half. Years of swallowing every insult, every leftover, every reminder that Mason mattered more than I did, all of it came out at once. I shouted that they tried to frame me. Every head in the room turned. Natalie's face went white, then red. Scott looked like he wanted to crush me where I stood. They did not deny it. They just glared, turned, and stormed out. That was the moment I knew I had been right to leave. And I knew I was never going back. That night, back at the hostel, the phone calls turned vicious. Voicemails piled up one after another, all of them full of blame. Natalie said I had betrayed the family. Scott said I had ruined Mason's life. One message said I had destroyed everything. I let the phone buzz against the mattress until it finally stopped. On the 5th day, I got the voicemail that changed the shape of the whole story. I did not answer, but I listened. My mother's voice came through shrill and furious. She asked if I was happy now, because my brother had been arrested. She said the police took him away in handcuffs, and it was all because of me. I sat on the edge of the bunk listening to that message over and over. It should have felt like vindication. It should have felt like proof that I was not crazy, that I was not overreacting, that I had done exactly what I needed to do, but all I felt was empty. Even then, even with Mason arrested, my parents still could not see the truth. To them, I was still the villain, still the traitor, still the disposable child who should have kept quiet and saved their favorite son. The next morning, I went to work and wore the same calm mask I'd been wearing all week. I smiled at customers. I poured coffee. I made change. My hands stayed steady even when the phone kept buzzing in my pocket with more voicemails I never opened. That is the strange thing about surviving a family like mine. You get very good at performing normal while your whole life is burning underneath. But somewhere in the middle of that shift, with the noise of the cafe around me and another call lighting up my screen, I realized something. For the first time in my life, the mask was not for them. It was for me. It was a shield, not a costume. Because I was not their scapegoat anymore. I was not the backup child, the spare body they could throw in front of consequences. I was finally outside the reach of the role they had been forcing on me since childhood. Mason had the handcuffs. Natalie and Scott had their outrage. But I had something they had never wanted me to have. Distance. And once I had that, I could finally start seeing the whole thing clearly. They gave me that laptop to ruin me. Instead, it gave me a door out. Months later, the whole thing was over, at least on paper. Mason was not the golden boy anymore. He was an inmate. The truth came out in court piece by piece, and every piece made me colder. He had been scamming older people, men and women in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. He told them he would help them invest in cryptocurrency, that he would manage the accounts for them, grow their savings, make them rich. They trusted him. He took their money and bought nothing. No investments. No accounts. Just theft with better branding. There were 27 victims in total, and the amount came to around $180,000. For some of them, it was retirement money. For others, it was everything they had. The judge did not care about Mason excuses. He got 5 years. Maybe less if he was lucky, but still enough to strip the shine off the family myth. My parents never forgave me. Not for protecting myself. Not for telling the truth. Natalie called, raged, cried, and begged in rotation. Scott left long, heavy messages about loyalty, blood, and how I had turned on my own family. I blocked them both. Every number. Every account. Every last opening they might have used to drag me back into their mess. They were never upset about the people Mason stole from. They were upset that I did not quietly agree to become collateral damage. That told me everything I needed to know. Looking back, the laptop feels almost symbolic now. Shiny on the outside, rotten underneath. That was my family. A polished surface with decay tucked into every hidden partition. For years I had tried to make sense of why they loved me the way they did, or rather why they did not. But the court case answered something I had spent my whole life trying to understand. It was never about me not being enough. It was about them needing someone easier to sacrifice. Mason mattered because he was the investment. I was useful because I was available. Once I saw that clearly, I stopped asking for fairness. You cannot negotiate fairness with people who treat loyalty like a weapon. The courtroom only made official what I had already learned in that hostile bunk. I was never going to be safe in that family. Not emotionally. Not legally. Not in any real sense. The only safety I was ever going to have was the kind I built myself. I live on my own now. The place is small. The walls are thin, and the kitchen sink leaks if I look at it wrong. But when I unlock the door at night, it is mine. All of it. I pay the rent. I buy the groceries. I decide who gets my number, and who never hears my voice again. Sometimes I stand in the quiet after work, and just let it settle around me. Because for the first time in my life, silence does not feel like tension. It feels like safety. I do not spend my evenings waiting for the next betrayal anymore. That alone feels almost luxurious. I still think about that birthday sometimes. The wrapped box. The fake smiles. The little leap in my chest when I thought, just for 1 second, that maybe this was the moment my family finally saw me. I hate that part most. Not the laptop. Not the files. Not even the recording in the kitchen. I hate that I let myself hope. But maybe that hope served a purpose too. Maybe I had to feel the full weight of that betrayal to understand that there was nothing left in that house worth saving. They handed me that machine as a trap, a poisoned gift, a setup wrapped in silver. And somehow it ended up being the thing that got me out. Without it, I might still be there. Still shrinking myself. Still making excuses for people who would have buried me to protect the son they loved more. Instead, I walked into a police station with a backpack and shaking hands, and I chose myself. I chose the truth. I chose not to go down quietly for people who never would have done the same for me. That choice cost me my family, At least the version of family I had been pretending existed. But it gave me something better. It gave me a life I do not have to survive in secret. It gave me peace that belongs to me. So when people ask whether I did the right thing, I do not hesitate. Yes, completely. They gave me that laptop to destroy me. Instead, it saved me. And if I had to choose again, I would still walk out with that bag over my shoulder. Straight into the cold night, and never look back. People always ask the same question after a story like this. Did I do the right thing? Did I go too far? Was turning in my own brother too cold, too harsh, too final? But that question only makes sense if you ignore what they were willing to do to me. They did not just lie. They did not just favor him again. They built a trap, wrapped it like love, and put it in my hands on my 18th birthday. They expected me to smile, carry it upstairs, and quietly become the person blamed when everything exploded. That is not family. That is sacrifice, disguised as celebration. For years, I thought surviving them meant being quiet, being grateful, being easier to ignore. I thought if I stayed useful enough, patient enough, invisible enough, maybe I would eventually earn the kind of love Mason got for free. But that birthday cured me of that illusion forever. The truth is, I was never going to be loved in that house in any healthy way. I was only ever going to be convenient. Once I understood that, the decision stopped feeling complicated. I did not destroy my family. I refused to let them destroy me. There is a difference, and it matters. Mason made choices. Natalie and Scott made choices. They chose deception. They chose protection for the wrong person. They chose to hand me evidence and hope I was too desperate for affection to question it. I chose the police station. I chose the recording. I chose the truth. If their world fell apart after that, it was because it had been built on lies from the beginning. These days, my life is small in ways they would probably mock. A tiny apartment, thin walls, bills with only my name on them, quiet nights, cheap groceries, but every single part of it is honest. No hidden files, no poisoned gifts, no smiling faces waiting for me to unwrap a disaster. And that honesty feels bigger than anything they ever gave me. So no, I do not think I went too far. I finally went far enough. They wanted me to carry the weight of Mason crimes because they thought I had been trained for it. They were wrong. I was not built to be their scapegoat. I was built to leave,